Hi, good afternoon, everybody. This is Eric with American Business Systems and want to welcome you here to the webinar this afternoon. I've got housekeeping things I'm trying to take care of here. So if y'all just bear with me as I get a couple of things just loaded up here for just a moment here. And then we're going to get this thing kicked off. But thank you for those that have joined us on time. And I tell you this, like I said, in many other cases, I tell you, these hours can go by pretty quickly. So, hey, listen, we have a slide deck here ready to go for you with Dr. Vicki Rackner, and I'm just waiting for her to show up. But what we're going to do here, we've got some slides that I can share with you in the event that for some reason she got caught up on something else, but we got you taken care of this afternoon. My name's Eric Ogea. I'll be hosting your webinar this afternoon, and look forward to taking your questions. So the first thing I want to make sure that everybody knows what to do is to go to their Zoom area where it says Q&A, and do me a big favor. Go over there and just say, hello, yes, I can hear you. If you want to start throwing in your questions right away, hey, have at it. I'm going to take as many questions this afternoon from you as possible, because folks, having the freedom to be able to do what you want to do, owning your own business, specifically in the healthcare business, opens up such great opportunities for you. And I'm going to share a few of the things that I've heard from some other of the ABS business owners here. So thank you. I appreciate it. I got an anonymous one there that says, hello. Yes, the audio is perfect. Alexandra says, yes, I can hear you well. So thank you. I appreciate it, everybody. And looks like we've got some good group of people here. We got Jean, another Jean, Jacob, Hannah, good to see you. Good. Dawn, good to see you as well. Chastity, Aaron, good to see you. Thank you. I appreciate it, everybody. Hey, listen, it's no fun doing a webinar just by yourself without its participants. So I appreciate everybody typing in something over there. So I really appreciate it. Again, my name's Eric Ogea. Again, I'll be helping you with the webinar. Let me kind of share a little bit about my story about American Business Systems. Over 15 years ago, Patrick and I met. I was a consultant in the business improvement, performance improvement of some large Fortune 500 companies. Patrick and I, our paths crossed, and I tell you, the first day that he and I met, we hit it off. And boy, what a history that's been here with American Business Systems. And I've played just about every role that you can imagine over here at American Business Systems. And one of the things I love doing best are these webinars, because this is where you and I get to meet kind of kneecap to kneecap, just thinking that, hey, we're having coffee together this afternoon. So this is a great time. So just think that, hey, we're at a coffee shop. You're trying to figure out what you're going to want to do. This is a great time to ask me questions, and I'll help guide you and lead you in those specific areas. Let me tell you a little bit about American Business Systems. ABS has been in business for over 28 years, if you can imagine about that. So listen, any company that you're trying to figure out to work with and to join partnerships with, obviously you want to look at longevity. Now, listen, there are a lot of great business opportunities out there, and some have just started. So listen, I'm not kicking anybody down because they just got started. However, what you want to know is, hey, can this company, or can this particular business opportunity survive some of the most difficult times in history? And if you think about it, ABS has been around through recessions, as we're in right now, inflationary times, pandemics. We never expected that. And then some of the great times. So folks, that's what you want to look for when you're looking at a business opportunity. You really do want to look at, wow, what can I do if the economy takes a tank, or it goes south, or it goes sideways, or it does whatever, it stagnates, or whatever it might end up doing. Let me tell you something. One of the best career moves that I ever made, again, over 15 years ago, is because of Patrick Phillips and Adam and their families brought me into this world of healthcare. And I'm telling you, it's the best thing I ever did in my entire life. And yes, have I done medical billing? Yes, I've actually owned 2 medical billing businesses. And I remember the first time that I ever got started here with American Business Systems, I told Patrick, I said, hey, let's make sure all of our systems in which we do to help teach our business owners, are they able to do what they need to do and go get clients? Gosh, hey, do those things work? And I promise you, we use the same thing that you're taught here and go out there and make sure that everything works properly, and it does. So you just follow the plan, as you'll hopefully be able to get some things there. Okay, so we've got one question that's come in from Stella. Stella, I'm going to hold on to your question here because I'm going to kick off with your question. I mean, you got a stellar question here. So stellar question from Stella. So we got that. All right. Let me tell you about the backbone, or the hub of everything, the nucleus of what causes this business operations and opportunities to work as well as it does. Well, you got to have solid systems in place. The system that, again, that's been around for the longest has been our iClaim EMRX platform. As you can see there, it's powered by NextGen Healthcare. NextGen is not just some little startup company in the healthcare business. NextGen's been around for a long time. There's a lot of hospitals that use the NextGen legacy platform. Now, what this is more of the office platform that are used by doctors. And so this has been around for a long time. It's solid. It's everything that you think of, which you might need. It is a cloud base. So obviously from that point, you don't have to do anything about loading stuff on your computer. You don't have to do any of that stuff. Hey, listen, everything's there, and it's all there for you. Plus, on top of all of that, you've got all these different services, and you're going to need these services. I'll just mention the one up at the top there you see about virtual care. That was actually birthed during and through the pandemic. And we can talk a little bit about that as we go through. Oh, I see Dr. Rackner coming on here. So that's great. It'll be good to have her on here in just a moment. Folks, we're also backed up with all these different technology partners. One of the great things about what ABS has done through Adam and Patrick and the rest of the team here, pulling technology partners together, like Dr. Rackner's, you'll hear from her in just a moment. And so, yes, we got some great things. And through the MERMA group, that's the Medical Revenue Management Association of America, you will be certified as a certified medical revenue manager. So, Dr. Rackner, you're here. I'm going to start off with a question from Stella. She's got a great question here as you're kind of getting back online there with the video camera, and I'm just going to help answer this question. And so her question, do you think the market can be saturated with ABS? Let me tell you real quickly, and Dr. Rackner, you can certainly chime in here, but the healthcare industry continues to grow. And so I remember, Dr. Rackner, when I first started with Patrick and Adam and the rest of the group here, 15 years ago, I thought, gosh, it's got to tap out somewhere, but it really hasn't. But you want to address how healthcare, I don't think it'll ever be saturated, especially with the services that need to go along. And I think it absolutely puts more of an opportunity for people wanting to get in business, especially in the medical billing business.
I would completely agree. Now, I've got a whole hour-long presentation about the impact of COVID on the lives of physicians. There has never been a better time to get involved, but something just happened that you need to know about. So, doctors see Medicare patients, right?
Yes.
And what they are paid is determined by Congress. Congress actually legislates how much doctors get paid. And as Medicare goes, so the insurance companies go too. On July 1st, doctors faced a 2% Medicare cut. 2%. Wow. Can you imagine somebody telling you, hey, thanks for putting your lives on the line and treating COVID patients. We're going to thank you with a 2% pay cut. Well, if that wasn't bad enough, Congress just proposed another 4% Medicare pay cut. So that's a 6% pay cut.
Wow.
And this is on top of all of the challenges that physicians have been facing, and they are livid. Clearly, though, the amount that you get paid from Medicare is tied to your billing practices, right?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
So it makes a lot of sense for doctors to go back and take a look at the way that they are practicing medicine. Eric, I don't know about what you find as you're out in the field, but this is a time of reinvention and rediscovery.
You couldn't have said it better. I think this is the time where doctors, I even, gosh, I never thought I'd say this, but I never thought there would be another opportunity for people who want to get involved in medical revenue management. Let's just say what it is from the technical standpoint. I mean, we all know about as medical billing, but if you think about it, folks, this is medical revenue management. And so that's why we have so many different services here, everything from virtual care to, as you'll see here, we've got some services that have to do with coding. You do not have to have coding background. We've got services that help you with that, as Dr. Rackner can share with you here as well. But there's never been I think, a greater opportunity, because through the rest of this year, going through 2022, going into 2023, we're still coming out of that pandemic. There's still, I mean, obviously there's some residual stuff there, but as you said, it's affecting now the doctor and how they do business. And I think that's where a lot of your specialty can come into play, is because you're working with doctors on their business. Now, you've written a book here, and I'm just going to put this up here. You wrote a book called The Myth of the Rich Doctor. Again, sort of my introduction to Dr. Vicki Rackner. She's been around. She's a former surgeon, so she's got the credentials. She has been around. She's written several books, folks. She's written all these different books. She's publicized everything that you can imagine, and she has spent what would you say, the last 10 years of your lifetime of really working with doctors and how to manage their business. Am I saying that right? Are you about 10 years into this, or maybe even longer?
20
years. Okay, well, there we go. 20 years of working with doctors specifically in the business area. So why don't you kind of introduce your book about the myth of the rich doctor, kind of share how that kind of got birthed, and then we'll just go through some of the rest of this information, and I'll be monitoring some questions as we go through today's presentation.
Okay, so I'm happy to do that. First, I just want to underscore something that you just said. You know, I have been doing this for 20 years now. Mm-hmm. And when I initially launched into entrepreneurship, it was a response to managed care, because doctors were so upset about that. So there was managed care. And then there was the Affordable Care Act. How are doctors going to get through that? And then there was COVID. And I absolutely agree with you that there has never been a better or more compelling reason to get involved than there is today, right now. Okay, so I am an expert in doctors and their relationship with money. I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of doctors. And once you do that, you start seeing patterns. So I was on vacation, and my family was going on a hike. I said, nah, I've got to do my blog post. So I stayed back to do this blog post, The Myth of the Rich Doctor. I just slapped it up, continued my vacation, and came back and saw that this thing had gone viral. Got about 100 times more views as any of my other blog posts did. I thought, well, how about if I kind of expand this? And so in this book, what I do is I say, let's pretend money is your patient, and let's talk about your financial health. Doctors love this book. I've gone all over the country speaking to groups of doctors about this. And that's kind of how this book came to be.
I mean, it's a beautiful book, and I've read it. We've even done some webinars on it. Let me tell people, I think you can go get this book on Amazon. Folks, that's and I'm not just trying to sell a book here or for Dr. Rackner or anything. You use it for your own good, but you're about to invest in some business, and you're trying to do your due diligence. And part of your due diligence is obviously spending a little capital there. I think what does this book run? $25, $30 on Amazon? I'm not sure.
It does, but you know what, Eric? People are investing their most precious asset in this webinar, their time. How about if I just give everyone a digital version of the book?
That's wonderful. So the best way to do this, folks, is get back with the person who invited you and say that Dr. Rackner said to give you a digital copy of this book. Thank you. I mean, what a great thing that you can gift to them already. We got 25 people on the webinar today. So what a great crowd to be able to get this. You know, whenever I was putting the slide deck together and I put this up there, also to kind of show where things are going, this is the most recent thing that I saw on the global medical billing outsourcing market. And this is forecasted out to 2027. So folks, this is a little bit out there. We're talking I'll just say $24 billion to be expected. Now, this is global, but folks, this is a huge increase from 2020 to 2027. As you can see, a 12% CAGR ratio, which is the entire growth part of this. This is a huge growth that we can see forecasted out here going forward.
Can I just talk about another trend that we're seeing?
Yes, please.
Okay, so when I went through my residency, so to become a surgeon, I did 4 years of undergraduate work, then 4 years of medical school, then 5 years of surgical training. And when I got out of training and went into practice, about 80% of the new graduates were in private practice. Then, you know, with the changes that we saw, you know, in 2019, the numbers flipped. So now about 20% of physicians were in private practice, and they were attracted to employment because employment represented stability.
Right.
And boy, were doctors surprised when they were asked to take pay cuts, when they were furloughed, when contracts were canceled. And they thought, why am I selling my soul? There's not the stability I thought there was. So now we're seeing another trend towards doctors going into private practice. So I totally understand, like it makes intuitive sense that these numbers are real. I understand why they're making that projection.
I'm so glad you brought that up because, you know, that question does come up often. Aren't doctors, aren't they employees? Aren't they being kind of grabbed up by hospitals? And you know, again, what I've seen is exactly what you've said. I've seen whenever I first started with ABS back 15 plus years ago, I saw that doctors were starting to kind of go in that area. But then through that, I saw them come out because of what you just said. They thought, gosh, I could be making more if I did it back on my own. And then these doctors coming out. And I still see that there's still that group of doctors that are still trying to come out, which would be a great pool of doctors that new business owners can grab of getting them out. And then there are some that have gotten out and they're still trying to get their sea legs underneath them, specifically on billing. And so this really is a great opportunity. One of the things I did, Dr. Rackner, I found, I think some things that you have gone through in the past, and I want to just use these as talking points. And there, you got like your top 10 things that doctors should be doing. And one of the first things that you mentioned is doctors should should get the right person to get the job done right the first time. You want to kind of talk to us about what that means?
Yeah. So I don't imagine that there are very many doctors who are going to H&R Block and doing their own taxes. Like they understand that they've got an issue that is sophisticated. And so you want to get the right person for the job. Now, what are the alternatives to outsourcing billing? It's doing billing in-house. I ran my own practice. So what that meant was the person who was doing the billing also did the scheduling, answering the phone. She did everything else. She did not dedicate herself to this job. And when you only do something like this part-time, then you are only going to develop a certain pool of expertise. For me, when it comes to hiring people for the job, I want somebody who has expertise, who has a lot of experience, because, you know, the pitfalls of doing billing wrong, there's some pretty serious consequences to this. So I decided from my own experience, I wanted my billing in the hands of the real experts.
Absolutely. Now, you kind of went through some struggles with your with your billing, and you want to again kind of go in a little bit more detail about that, and really what doctors face on a regular billing area about billing.
Okay, so when I came out of my residency,
let's get into it.
okay, everyone, you're going to laugh. I get kind of embarrassed when I tell this story. Okay, so when I came out of residency, I joined another surgeon in private practice. He was getting older. He wanted to be able to share call and then maybe sell his practice one day. So he was one surgeon with one employee. And like, I started asking, like, how do things work? And I was there for not too long when his one trusted person handed in her resignation.
Wow.
And we suspect in retrospect that she was probably embezzling from the practice, and my questions might have inspired her to get out before she got caught. So anyway, my partner's wife, Stephanie, said, how hard can billing be? Let me just take some time for my tennis game and spend a couple of hours at the office. And she was not there very long before she said, whoa, this is much bigger than I ever expected. We need to hire somebody. So we were interviewing, but in the meanwhile, we needed somebody to answer the phones, right? So we called a temp agency, and they sent out this woman who was just lovely. She would go out into the waiting room and help her little old ladies fill out the paperwork. And it was just great having her there. So we hired somebody, and a couple of months later got a call from the temp agency saying, we are so sorry. We've just come to discover that the person we sent out to you was a convicted Medicare felon. So we started rethinking her sitting out in the waiting room, helping the little old ladies with all their confidential information.
Yep.
So the temp agency said, if you find any irregularities in your billing, please know that, potential funny business from this woman is a possibility. And to be quite honest, like, things were so screwed up that even if there were billing irregularities, I don't know if we would have caught it.
Yeah.
I mean, instead of taking money out of the practice, we actually had to make owner investments in the practice to meet our tax payments. So it was like a complete mess. So not too long after I had been in that practice, I was invited to join a multidisciplinary breast cancer team at another hospital that I took call at. And I was really excited about breast cancer. So I broke out on my own to, really focus on this breast focus. And, you learn stuff from experience. And probably the number one lesson I learned is I don't want to have interruptions in my cash flow. I don't want to have to put money into the practice rather than taking money out. I knew that I wanted my billing in the hands of professionals. So I knew from the beginning I was going to outsource my billing. And so I just checked around with people. Hey, do you outsource your billing? And when the same name kept on coming up over and over, that's the person I interviewed. And this brings me to a second point about why this is such a great business. And that's that doctors kind of gossip like teenage girls. So imagine like getting a doctor client, doing a really, really great job for this doctor, having this doctor in the doctor's dining room talk about how great you are with other doctors, and getting a phone call saying, hey, I hear you do a great job for Dr. Jones. Are you accepting new clients? Can you come in and talk with me? So doctors do that. But, all doctors are really, really worried about theft and fraud. Eric showed you that I'm a contributing author to the Journal of Medical Practice Management. The editor of that publication says that every issue has to have something about theft or fraud, because this is something that doctors worry about intensely.
Yes. Now, you said something there that I'm just throwing that back up there for you, for everybody to see. But are you telling me that you went through more than, I would assume, I forgot how many years of schooling that you went through, 10 years of schooling and they didn't teach you business in the medical world?
No, and that's something that you'll learn about as you read the Myth of the Rich Doctor. And you've got the 9 Money Mistakes book in the slide deck somewhere, right?
I do.
Okay, so what you will hear about is, just like in our American government, we have a separation between church and state. In the practice of medicine, we have this ethic that the care of a patient should not be tied to the patient's ability to pay. So boomers like me, we just didn't talk to patients about money. Money was dirty. Like, we didn't want to sully our hands with money. And as a result, nowhere in my training, either in medical school, where I borrowed about $100,000 to get through medical school, or in residency, did anyone talk about money. So revenue managers like you, Eric, they're the people who bring the business sense to the practice.
Right.
And you're gonna actually kind of laugh when you see how unsophisticated doctors are about running their practice. They don't think about it as a business.
Yeah, and that's what you've got. I was going to say, this is what you got here. Doctors need to minimize their risk of medical malpractice lawsuits and payer audits. I mean, that's exactly what you're talking about right here.
Well, no, it's worse than that, because a business person would have business checks and balances about payer audits, right? Yes. Doctors don't even think like that. It's like, we don't think about money. And so oftentimes the outsourced medical biller is the person who brings a conversation about financial health into the practice. And I mean, there are certain things that are kind of obvious that I never really thought about. Like, my revenue manager was able to take a special report and say, look, here are your most profitable activities.
Yes.
And here's the profile of the patient that you get paid most for. Like, left to my own devices, I would probably just volunteer. I would work at a free clinic and just give away my services. And I also, wanted to pay my mortgage. So bringing in this business sense, like, there's a connection between the value you deliver and the amount that you get paid.
That's correct.
If you do this strategically, everyone wins. This was like a new concept to me.
I was talking with a provider the other day, and I was just, I asked her, I said, hey, when you're taking calls and you're doing this, are you setting that up as are you logging that as a follow-up call? Or are you doing that? Oh, no, I haven't. I just take the call and I go, oh my goodness, you don't realize how much money you're losing. So yes, I completely agree with what you're saying there. And folks, and this is what I want to share with you. I hope that you get more out of just understanding from Dr. Rackner and me today about just this being medical billing. And she nailed it whenever she says a medical revenue manager, someone that is overseeing the entire managing the doctor's revenue. Now, so you ask, well, what about these codes, and how am I going to learn how to do all of these things? Again, I'm going to show this up here to you just real quickly so that everybody gets it. All of these services that we have here come with professional people to help you with these. So whether you're talking about Code Right or Quick Collect or Choice Pay or the billing part of it or any of these other services, that's what our technology partners here help you do. And they've got people that actually help you with that and along with that. So folks, we've got everything that you need. So you're not just starting off just cold turkey and not knowing what to do. That's why we kind of help coach you along and get everything done. And so one of the things that I'm going to go on to the next, because we're already, gosh, can you believe we've already been doing this for 30 minutes already? I'm going to move on to one of your other top things that you talk about, your top 10 things that you talk to doctors about, is doctors need to build their ideal practice. What does that mean?
So what that means for me is that each of us has certain gifts and talents. And when you live in your gifts, you're in your sweet spot. So it's helping doctors spend their time doing the things that they really love. And the things that they really love doing has a financial implication. So in my book I'm working on now, How Doctors Build True Wealth, I talk about doctors building two kinds of machines. So in the first machine, think of a vending machine. They put in little chunks of their time and they get out money. And not all activities have the same hourly rate. So ideally, the doctor is choosing the right thing on the vending machine so that they're in their sweet spot. They're doing what they love doing and they're optimizing their revenue. In the second machine, they're taking their money and putting it into another machine and they get out their time back. So that's retirement, right? You build up retirement assets and now you buy your time back. And doctors can do this on varying levels. So in your ideal practice, you've got this vending machine tuned up. You know what is involved with the way that you're investing your time. And it's something that you really like to do. And it's something that's profitable.
And I think that goes hand in hand on my next topic that I want you to talk about there is you have found that doctors need to find a way to prevent and treat burnout. It sounds as though what you've just described helps accomplish that.
Yeah. Okay. So every year, an organization called Medscape, and you can go and sign up for a free Medscape report. They do compensation surveys and they also survey depression and burnout. There's an epidemic of burnout among physicians. I mean, that means that the doctor, they're running on empty. They don't even want to be at the clinic.
Right.
And the unfortunate reality is we lose about a class of doctors, medical school class, like over 100 doctors to suicide each year.
Wow.
And, you know, so when they did this study in 2021, which meant that they were looking at the 2020 data, what they found is that 42% of physicians reported being burned out sometime within the year, which was the same number as 2019, same number as pre-COVID. And, you know, for some physicians, they came into the pandemic with burnout. In some situations, all of the stresses of the pandemic sort of threw them over the edge. And this is a huge problem. And now with this Medicare cut that I was just telling you about, doctors are feeling like some way of saying thank you.
Right.
Like, I am not just a robot here. You know, I'm a professional who just spent a decade being in a position to be able to treat patients. So doctors are really, really on the edge. And if you look at suicide, oftentimes the thing that finally throws doctors over the edge is billing.
Yes.
Is money.
And and this is one of the things I've talked to, and Dr. Rackner, you've heard me say this, you know, if we look at our community, where I live, let's just talk where I live, where you live, where all the guests that are on the webinar today, where they live. If we could go poll every doctor, we're going to find some of these issues, probably every one of these issues with them. As a community person within my community, I want to know that I go to a doctor that is not worried about their billing, especially one that is on the verge of burnout or not doing well themselves, because I'm going to that doctor to be treated because I've got pain. And, or if I've got an elderly parent or a child that I want to take, I don't want to take them to a doctor that is burnout or other issues. I want to take them to a doctor that is not worried about that. And it kind of gets back to what you said, doctors not so worried about money, but, you know, because they want to treat people. And so one of the things I've shared with people that are on webinars like this before is you do not know the impact that you can make on your community if you are able to take over a doctor's medical revenue management, get them back up to where they are, what it does for the entire community where you live. Am I just blowing smoke here, or what do you think?
No, it's true. In a very real way. In
a very real way. You know,
yeah.
You know that we've taken care of my in-laws until they're passing, and we've got now grandkids, and, you know, we're wanting to make sure that we've got everything, because one of the things that you've said in your book and in other webinars is the physician's pain is your opportunity. It's not to take advantage of the doctor. But it is an opportunity not only to help that doctor, but if you can look far beyond the horizon, you're going to actually help your entire community.
Exactly. And let me just point out something else. It's embarrassing to be so smart and be so dumb about money. I mean, it just seems like if you're an orthopedic surgeon, you should be able to figure this out. There's this reality show. It's doctors, something with doctors in it. They take you behind the scenes and you get a peek at what's really going on behind, in the lavish mansions. And like there's doctors in these lavish mansions who are thinking that they might have to file for bankruptcy.
Wow.
So what you see on the outside does not necessarily reflect a doctor's financial truth. And like it is just plain old embarrassing to not be able to figure this out.
Yeah, because I think it reminds me of what you said again, even earlier, that doctors talk with each other. And because they're talking with each other, the one thing they're probably not talking about is, hey, that they're really having problems with their billing, because again, there's a certain status that I'm sure that they feel like they have to have. And but then what you found, because of what you've been doing for the last 20 years, you're finally starting to see some of these physicians open up and saying, hey, yes, look, I'm not the smartest cookie in the room whenever it comes down to managing business sometimes, and I do need to give that over. And whenever that doctor finally reaches that position is really where their financial world starts to change.
Right. I want to push back though on something that you said. A lot of times doctors don't know what they don't know. Okay, let's just say that somebody is doing billing in-house. I paid my front office person maybe $12 an hour, and she did everything, right? So how willing is somebody in the front office to say, we're having a problem with collections here, and I really don't understand it. Like that makes her look bad. So a lot of times doctors have no idea what's going on in their practice.
That's and boy, it's exactly what we're here on this next point here. Doctors need to manage their staffing issues to assure their practice runs smoothly. And a lot of people on this call, and as they're doing their due diligence, they're probably thinking, don't doctors already do in-house billing? Don't they already do that? And so we've got this calculation here of showing what it costs in real time to have an in-house biller versus an outsourced billing company. But you can see right off the bat, gosh, the doctors are actually spending more money having an in-house biller. But then you're saying there's no real incentive for an in-house biller to make any particular changes, because with an outsourced billing company, they make their revenue on making sure that the doctor is collecting more at what they're trying to do. And so that's what makes this a grand opportunity.
So I always push back on this graph because it doesn't emphasize the main point. When I was doing my own billing in-house, we were walking away from 30% of our revenue. 30%. That is a huge cost of doing business. And if you can bring that number down to 1 or 2 or even 10%, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars of difference in money that goes in doctors' pockets.
Wow, that's unbelievable. Again, I'm just looking at the time. I'm having such a wonderful time with you. Thank you. I'm sure the people that are here are just loving the conversation, but I don't want to move too fast or too slowly that we don't cover all your points. But one of the other points that you've made is doctors need to protect their privacy of patients, themselves, and to avoid HIPAA violations. What is that still a big issue today?
It's a huge issue. So doctors are worried about their liabilities. Everyone knows that doctors are worried about medical malpractice, but HIPAA violations can be very costly. It can be up to a $250,000 fine per infraction.
Right.
So like if the office manager takes her laptop on vacation and it has unsecured medical records in it and the laptop gets stolen, how many of those patient records were there? And if you just Google HIPAA violations and you see some of the awards that have been granted, it's like really sobering.
Well, the reason we bring this up here is because one of the services that you'll have with American Business Systems is what's called the Compliancy Guard. And Dr. Rackner, one of the biggest door openers for me when I've gone in and to introduce myself as a medical revenue management company, one of the things I would do to get kind of past the front gate, the front desk is just simply say, hey, I'm Eric. I'm with whatever my company name was at the time. And, I'd like to set up and schedule an appointment with your Hipaa compliancy officer. And boy, you talk about getting some attention from some people. You would think I was the FBI walking in there. But I want to this, when people are concerned about how do I get past the front gatekeeper and stuff like that. Well, we've done that. And then what you can do, you can lead out with this, and what you become is a trusted advisor. And that's one of the things that you work with our business owners here at ABS. This is what you're telling them right today is really stop thinking and selling yourself short of just being a medical biller. You're becoming a financial advisor to the doctor in general using some of these services.
Absolutely. So think of yourself as like the business smarts of the practice.
Yeah, and it kind of leads into what the doctor's building a dream team, and that's what we're trying to put together here.
Absolutely.
And then we got a couple of more here. You got doctors need to make the codes work for them in a legal and ethical way. I mean, how often, whenever you went through school, that you learned about codes versus, how do I code this particular visit versus this? And I don't want to overcharge Medicare because it's one of the things you mentioned earlier. Gosh, Medicare is kind of hammering down on doctors and making sure that their codes are right. You want to speak to that briefly?
You bet. So one of the things that strikes a chord of terror among physicians is getting audited, right? Not by the IRS, getting audited by the insurance company, like Medicare. And so what you want to do is you don't want to stand out, right? You want to be in the right range. You want to sort of seek protection with the crowd. And if you're just doing your own billing, you don't know where the crowd is, right?
Yeah.
So one error that a lot of doctors made is they'll down code because they don't want to risk, being out there. Okay, so when somebody does outsourced medical billing, they have a sense of what's out there. They have more global experience than just what's happening in one doctor's office. And that is precious intellectual property.
That's awesome. I appreciate you saying that because, again, that's what CodeWrite does. I mean, we've got certified professional coders that can take a look at this. And not only that, we've got another asset here as a service called Audit Guard. And Audit Guard will actually take a look at past things that the doctor have done, how they've coded, and then get them corrected. And so Don's asking the question here before we get to this last point that we've got for you. Don's asking the question, so how do we convince a doctor that you are a trustworthy company being new to the business? Well, number one, you're not necessarily new to the business because with ABS, you got 28 years of experience. You've got folks like our coders and CodeWrite and Audit Guard that do that. But then one of the other things that you talk about is for doctors to somewhat optimize the sale of their practice. But before I get to that, part of what you do, and you and Patrick have done, you've co-authored a book called The New Thriving Medical Practice. And at the bottom of the book, the brand new ABS business owner gets to put the forward to the book as a certified medical revenue manager. Would you please speak to the audience today of partnering with you as a doctor to help bridge that newness of kind of washing that away?
Okay, so today I was interviewed by Medical Economics for an article they're writing, How do you choose a financial advisor? And so the same question could be, how do you choose a medical revenue manager? And here's what doctors do. They talk to other doctors.
Mhm.
So I said, well, the first piece of advice is to go in and find out what other doctors are doing. Now, when you get your first client, you can't do that, right? And so I would recommend complete transparency. Look, you are going to be my first client. I know that there was a time when you did your first appendectomy. But here's the good news for you. I am going to work so hard to delight you because I want you to be able to talk to your colleagues about me.
Right.
So the most influential person in a doctor's life is another doctor. What you want to do, your end game, is to become the go-to guy or go-to gal among targeted groups of doctors who network together, who share resources. That's how you really grow your practice. But the beautiful thing about these books is that now you are under my veil of credibility. So you can Google me and see what it says. So now you've got a doctor who's basically by your side, on your team. So you're not in there alone. You're in there with a physician who has a national presence. And this is huge.
That's, and again, sometimes you'll even write introductory letters that we have that you can actually send out for a particular doctor. So folks, whenever you're kind of getting introduced and you've got a particular doctor that you want to try to talk with, Dr. Rackner can actually write the introductory letter for you to that doctor in saying, hey, this is a book you really need to get your hands on and read through it. And just the incredible, what happens whenever you are trying to get your first doctor, your second doctor, and having that credibility back behind you. So it goes right along with what Don was asking. How do I build that trustworthiness? And because really, trust kind of comes over time. That's really where trust is built, is over time. And the great thing about getting started with American businesses is that it has the time, and it's weathered the storms of the Affordable Care Act, and it's weathered the storms of inflations and recessions and pandemics, and we're still here, and our business owners are still here. So Dr. Rackner, we've got about 10 more minutes here to the webinar this afternoon. Why don't you just kind of sum up everything? Back? Oh yeah, absolutely.
Back to that last slide. Okay,
yes, absolutely.
I hired an office manager, right?
Yep.
And she's kind of like the NFL offensive line.
Yep.
So I wanted her to guard people, guard my attention and my time. So she could make two mistakes. She could let things through that I didn't want to see, or keep things from me that I wanted to see. She would never keep from me a communication from another physician. That's why this is so powerful. If you use the doctor a letter, the offensive line is probably just going to put that right in the recycle bin. But something from another physician gets to the desk of the physician. That is why this is so powerful.
That beautiful. Thank you for putting that out, because you're exactly correct. Kind of gives just you've got 5 minutes here. Just kind of just share a closing. Just speak directly to the folks here.
Yeah, so I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I've invested in businesses that have done really well. And I've also invested in businesses that have not gone very well. And so I think I've kind of been in your shoes, being in a position of looking at an opportunity and wondering, okay, is this right for me? So I look for three things when I look at a business. The first is this a business that's going to support growth? And I think with the COVID pandemic, we saw that unfortunately not all businesses survived. So does this have a future? Do I see an opportunity for growth and profitability? Like, am I going to be able to meet my personal needs, my financial needs? And then third, is there a path to success? Or like, am I going to have to figure all of this out myself? One of the reasons that I get so excited about being on webinars like this is that ABS checks all three boxes. Like, you want to make a smart investment. I totally get it. I don't get paid for being here. I don't get any sort of compensation when people sign up. The reason that I'm here is that I'm committed to helping doctors thrive. And I know that when doctors are hooked up with a great revenue manager, things change. The doctor changes, the doctor's family life changes, the community changes. And so I am always happy to hop on these webinars, because if the right people say yes to this opportunity, that means that there are going to be more doctors who are better served.
You bet. Hey, here's a great question that came in from Victor, and I'll ask you the question that he asked. What kind of people are the most successful in this business?
Great question. I love this.
That's a great question.
They are. And over the years, what I've discovered is that the people who are most successful are cut from the cloth of service. Like, they are not doing this to just like generate a quick buck. If you're interested in that, why don't you learn about day trading? I mean, doctors want to work with people who genuinely care about them. You know, there's this saying in medicine, the secret of the care of the patient is caring for the patient. And if you want to conduct business with doctors, conduct yourself like one. If you know that doctors hold the ethic that the care of the patient comes first, then you want to come in with the spirit of service, that the needs of the doctor are going to come first. And that's very, very attractive to doctors.
That's a great way to answer that question. That's wonderful. Jesus is asking, how can an assisted medical biller like himself learn the knowledge and necessary tools to start billing and gain the experience to eventually run a sole business? Well, that's one of the things that you get here, Jesus, is all the training that, and I'll talk about that here towards the end, but that's what ABS brings to the table, and continued support for you continually, and at no additional charge for you as well. So that's what you're able to get going there. Dr. Rackner, any last minute? And I'm going to kind of go through some next steps, and I'll kind of talk about Patrick's 100% money back guarantee, but any closing remarks that you want to share with us?
I just thank you for your interest. I trust that you're going to make a great decision for yourself. The 9 Money Mistakes book was not in the deck, Eric.
It wasn't.
Get a copy of that too.
I got to get that in there. That's because that's a brand new one, wasn't it? You and Adam just did? Yes. We have it in other slide decks. I thought I had it in this one. My failure. Okay. I should have had it in there, but there is a copy that people can get that. Go back and ask your ABS person that invited you here and ask them about those 9, what is it again? 9?
The 9 money mistakes.
9 money mistakes. Yeah, just go ask your rep for the 9 money mistakes, and I'm sure there's a digital copy for that. So Dr. Rackner, thank you. I'm going to kind of wrap this thing up, and I appreciate you being on with me today. My pleasure. Take good care, everyone. All right, thank you. All right, so folks, let me kind of just take you through the last few things here. Patrick has an unbelievable opportunity for you. And I just say Patrick, Adam, Phillips, the whole gang here at American Business Systems. We have what's called an unconditional 30-day money-back guarantee. Let me kind of explain to you what that is. When you're going in and buying a business opportunity, when you put that money down, and someone's just asking me how much it is to start, and I'll tell you about that in a moment. But when you put that money down, there's usually no way out of that. Well, I mean, it's kind of like once you put it in that little slot, it's gone. There's no way to get that back. But what ABS has done, and it's been doing this ever since I've been around, and so they're the only business opportunity / franchise that I know of out there that gives you an opportunity to continue through the training process to get possibly your money back. And whenever it says 100% money back guaranteed, 100% of that will come back to you. So they're giving you the opportunity is once you have filled out the paperwork and you've done everything and you've gone through training, and they got 30 days from the time that you've signed the paperwork, you've funded the business, you've gone through training, you still have those days to still make your decision. For at the end of that 30 days, if you feel like it's not the right business for you, simply ask for your money back. Has it happened? Yes. And that's what's been the good part about this, is that we've actually had people say, you know what, I've gone through this and it's just not going to work for me. But ABS believes so much in what we do here that we would rather you get through the training and understand, because we know that you're taking your time to do your due diligence over a webinar. You're calling folks and you're going to kind of see the next steps of some things you should be doing. But just know that that's there and it's written in the information, and I'll share that with you here in just a moment. So let's talk about the next steps. What should you be doing? What part of your due diligence, what should you be doing that's just going to help you make that decision with you, your partners, your business partners, your family, if some friends, if you're trying to go through all of that, what should we be doing? And so we kind of nailed it down into 6 small steps. The first thing you need to do is ask for a research guide, or the ABS research guide. It is an entire PDF. It's chock full of more information than what you're going to find on just the web, on just the website, or what you're going to even hear on the webinar. This will give you some real nuts and bolts and get you some understanding about all what you're getting here inside of the ABS platform. The second thing you should be doing is browsing the YouTube channel. And that YouTube channel is youtube.com/YABS. Go out there. Patrick and I, and Adam and some other folks here, we have been doing this for a long time. And as far as I've been around for 15 years, I don't think we've ever missed a Wednesday of the week that I know of that we have not done a webinar. You talk about consistency. That's what ABS does, whether it falls on a holiday or it's right before a holiday, or however it works out on a Wednesday afternoon. This is what we've been doing, and we've been doing it solidly. Gosh, it's, like I said, since I've been here. So go back and check out interviews and topics, and you want to know how marketing works. Go through there and do that little magnifying glass, which is a search button. Just type in marketing. How does marketing work? And you're going to learn about all of that in there. So please go through the YouTube channel and check us out there. The third thing is start calling some of your references. These are people who have been on where you're sitting. You've been on a webinar, you've seen everything. You're just trying to figure out, am I making the wisest decision? Call these folks. And just like Dr. Rackner, man, she was in here, she gave you the good, the bad, and the ugly. And talk with these folks that have been through there where you are. They'll be happy to help you out. One of the favorite things I like to do, and one of the biggest things I champion the most, is probably one of the biggest things. It's kind of like jumping in the driver's seat and doing a test drive. And that's doing a live webinar with the person that asked you to come to a live demo, and with the person that invited you to the webinar today. This is where you're going to get to see the inside of iClaim and EMRX and see how it works and what we do for you. So whenever I mean that, is that whenever you've got a doctor that's looking to maybe wanting to change and what they want to be able to do, we are the ones that are going to demonstrate. So again, kind of back what Don was asking earlier, how am I going to build that trustworthiness if I'm just getting started? Well, part of what you're getting from ABS is that type of support. So let's say that you go out there, you find a Dr. Rackner out there. She's going, okay, I think I might want to listen to you. You schedule a demo, and you're letting the ABS team, who's been doing this for a long time, actually conduct the demo for you, for that doctor, answering all the questions. Let our expertise kind of help you close that deal. And then the other third thing that you need to be able to do is next steps is your purchase agreement. Review the purchase agreement. Within the purchase agreement, I think within the first page there, I think you can see it right there a little bit. It talks about the refund policy. Get a hold of that, because that's going to explain to you what that 30-day money-back guarantee really looks like in black and white. And you can see it's only one paragraph. It's you can't make it any simpler than that. But once you've got that taken care of, then get your funding together. And once you've got your funding together, send in the agreement and then schedule your training. Someone's asking, can I start this year? You bet. You don't have to wait for any other training, because that training is online. We've got trainers that can help you with all of this. So folks, that's what we're here. We can be Johnny on the spot. You can get ready and get started here right off the bat. So give us a call here at 866-565-8413, 866-565-8413, or just check us over here at info@absystems.com. If you don't know who invited you to the webinar, folks, we'll help you. We'll get you paired up with somebody. Get that live demo done, get that underneath your belt, look over the purchase agreement, and for goodness sakes, call some of these licensee references and just get a hold of them and do that. Let me see if there's any other questions that I may have missed out. And Jacob, if you're still on here, hopefully you're still on here. Yep, I see Jacob still over there. He asked one of the first questions. I wanted to kind of hold this towards the end. He goes, "Hi, Eric. I was wondering if the medical billing business can be outsourced offshore." Yes, it can. So let me tell you this. Do two things. Again, have the person that invited you to the webinar, ask them how that can be done, because it has been done. Okay, so that's one thing. But then whenever you talk with some of the licensees that are already the ABS licensee references, check with them, ask them, hey, have you ever done this? Some have been very, very successful with that. Some would just rather to keep it here. And I tell you that most doctors would really prefer, unless you're really managing that well, they would like to know that your billing's being done onshore. But understand what you're saying. You know, you want to see what you can do to be the best that you can be, and then make as much money as you need to. So believe me, everybody's been able to look at that. Emmanuel's asking how much to start is $28,990. So you want to just under $30,000. So for the money of what you can make, again, folks, what you got to understand is just one doctor can help you have your return on your investment, because within the first year, most people can make anywhere from $45,000 to $65,000 with one doctor for your return on your investment. So that's easily done. Looks like Manuel said he was just joining, so we got that taken care of. Yes, you can start this year, no problem. If you're a well-trained, this is Victor, if you're well-trained ABS, how much money do you expect to make monthly? Okay, great question. Okay, so we have on our YouTube channel how much money you can make. I think Patrick and I just did one a couple of weeks ago on that, where we go into full detail. But basically, you can make anywhere from $3,000 to $4,000 a month servicing, again, one doctor. But go back into the youtube.com YABS, go in there, just look up, you'll find them. It should be right up at the top of, what kind of money you can make. And so we can get that taken care of. And last question, how much does it take to get started in the business? I think I've just answered that. So I think I've got all the questions. We're right at the top. It actually went over just a little bit. So again, I thank Dr. Rackner for joining us this afternoon. But more importantly, you've been our guest. I thank you for joining us this afternoon. You've got some more due diligence to keep doing. So go out there and keep doing your due diligence. Don't forget, Dr. Rackner offered her book, the Myth of the Rich Doctor. So get back with the person who invited you today. Ask them for a digital copy of that. So don't forget that. For that, folks, we do this every Wednesday. I think I said that. We have not missed a Wednesday, which means we're going to be here next week, Wednesday afternoon. It could be Patrick, it could be me, it could be both of us, but we're here to help you, and we love to be able to help you, keep helping you make your decisions. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. It's been my pleasure. Again, I thank Dr. Rackner for taking out her time this afternoon. Y'all have a wonderful day. Have a great end of the rest of your week. We'll see you next Wednesday. Don't forget to give us a call, 866-565-8413, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Thank you so much, everybody.